We have arrived, soldiers. The 2001 Royal Rumble live from New Orleans, Louisiana, taking place on January 21st in front of around 17,000 fans, while 625,000 are watching at home. Praised as one of the greatest Royal Rumble events in WWE history, I'm actually so relieved to be covering this one, seeing as we've had a string of mediocre or bad shows as of late, particularly from the WCW side. We've got Triple H versus Kurt Angle for the WWF title, Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho in a ladder match for the IC Championship. We of course have the annual Royal Rumble match, which is always a lot of fun to cover. But we kick off with Edge and Christian defending their tag team belts against the Dudley Boyz. I know we're all eager to get straight to the Rumble match tonight, but two people who don't look too eager to even be here tonight are Edge and Christian. These boys hurt the Dudleys pretty badly on Raw, and when the bell rings, they quickly go to the outside and they try to head back up the rampway. The Dudleys follow and the match continues, and when we get back inside the ropes, it's Devon Dudley with a neckbreaker to Edge and a jumping back elbow to Christian. Bubba Ray comes in, he no-sells a head scissor takedown before whacking Edge off the apron. Christian takes a sidewalk slam, and so far the champions haven't been competitive at all in our opening match. Finally, Christian attacks Devon from the apron, and this allows Edge to perform a back suplex. Christian then comes in for a Russian leg sweep, and the champs are now going to utilise quick tags and a few dirty tactics behind the referee's back. You know it's going to be a good show when we've got a chin lock in the opening contest, but Devon fights out only to take a swinging neckbreaker from Edge. Desperation's now sinking in as Bubba wants to get in the match. Edge goes for a piledriver, Devon counters the move, Edge headbutts his tag team partner right in his little peep, and this results in Edge and Devon going down after a double clothesline. Devon crawls to his corner to tag in Bubba, but the referee doesn't see it. And while Bubba's busy shouting at Mike Chioda, the champs decide now's a good time to grab some chairs and deliver a concerto. This doesn't work out so well, and Devon avoids getting seriously hurt. So Bubba finally tags in and he starts launching the tag team champions all over the ring. The crowd are loving it. Christian leaves the ring after a Bubba bomb. Edge takes the Dudley signature "was up" headbutt. It's time for Devon to get the tables, but Christian puts up a temporary roadblock. And while this is going down, Edge tries to hit Bubba with a tag team belt, but he's unsuccessful. There's a nice spot next where the Dudleys look for a 3D, but it gets countered with a spear from Edge and a DDT from Christian. The champs then decide to partake in some gimmick infringement when they try the "was up" headbutt, but Devon pushes Edge from the top rope and Edge ends up headbutting his own tag team partner's nutsack. At least it broke up Devon's cover, I guess. The Dudleys deliver the 3D, they win the match and the tag team belts, and this is a match that definitely got better as it went on. It started off like any other WWF tag team match, but the last few minutes were fun. Drew Carey's at the Royal Rumble tonight and he's going to make a few backstage appearances. First, he interrupts Triple H and Stephanie. Hunter wanted to make sure Steph and Trish Stratus wouldn't be a factor in tonight's title match, and Steph assured her husband that she's only there to make sure Trish doesn't hurt the game's chances of bringing home the gold. Drew walked in, he asked Hunter if he married the boss's daughter, and he said he saw Kamala at the airport. So random. And Drew wanted to speak with Mr. McMahon. He wanted advice on his upcoming comedy pay-per-view. Should have really talked to Vince Russo, but anyway. Steph instead directs Drew to Trish Stratus' dressing room, and Drew tries to hit on Trish before Mr. McMahon walks in. Drew wants help to promote his pay-per-view. It's an improv comedy show, by the way. McMahon says if it's all about improv, then Drew should do something unexpected tonight. And yeah, Drew Carey should take part in the Royal Rumble match. Trish says it would be really impressive if Drew went to the ring tonight, and so he agrees. We'll be seeing Mr. Carey again a bit later on. The APA are having a private conversation in their dressing room. They're doing the old "I'll show you mine if you show me yours" routine, and no, they aren't talking about their knobs, they're talking about their Royal Rumble numbers. The boys laugh when they look at each other's their entrance numbers, and they say the Rumble's going to be pretty interesting tonight. Here comes Crash Holly telling Bradshaw and Farouk that he will throw the Acolytes over the top rope tonight if he has to. It's every man for himself, there's no friends, so the APA better watch themselves. Next up, it's Chris Benoit defending the IC Championship against Chris Jericho in a ladder match. A match that's got so much potential, what with how well these guys know each other, plus the added ladder stipulation. Y2J is the babyface going into this one, but Benoit's been proving himself to WWF audiences who weren't familiar with his previous work. It's a good old-fashioned scrap at the opening bell, followed by a crossface attempt, but this gets countered. Jericho tries to lock in the walls, but it doesn't work either. So Benoit changes his approach by throwing Y2J shoulder first into the ring post, and he follows this with a shoulder breaker. Jericho does his best to shake it off, but he does himself no favours when he misses a springboard attack. He lands shoulder first on the outside, and if that wasn't bad enough, he gets thrown into the ring post again when Benoit went out to grab the ladder. The champion continues to outsmart the challenger when Y2J goes for a baseball slide. He pays for this by going shoulder first into the ring steps, and even after all this, Y2J still performs an electric chair drop when Benoit went for the belt. Now this is a good match and no one likes a nitpicker, but it sucks that Jericho didn't sell his shoulder at all here, and he continues on by hitting a clothesline and using the ladder as a weapon. Chris takes a shot to the head, he takes a shot to the midsection, Y2J sets the ladder across the top ropes, and you know the rule, he who sets it up must get launched head first and do it. Never fear though, because Jericho stops his opponent's momentum with a well-timed chair shot when Benoit dives to the outside. The challenger tries to get creative by draping the champion over the barrier, but the attempt failed unfortunately, and Jericho pays with chair shots and ladder shots on the outside before the two get back in the ring. The ladder gets set up in the corner, Benoit drills Jericho into it. Jericho avoids a second attempt though, and Chris once again tries to get creative by putting his opponent's leg inside the ladder before bringing it down like some sort of back suplex. The spot looked good. Is this enough to slow Benoit down? No, because the champion dropkicks the ladder while Jericho was holding it, and this gets followed up with a back suplex. One of the reasons why this match is so good, in my opinion, is because of how back and forth it is. The WWF have always favoured matches with long momentum swings, but both guys are totally equal here, which makes it more engrossing to watch. Benoit sets the ladder up in the corner again, and he hasn't been paying attention, because it's he who goes head first into it, and Jericho follows this up with a good old seesaw spot. This spot can be so unpredictable. Jericho wants to grab that championship and get the match over with, but he takes a back suplex that sends him straight to the outside, though Benoit has no luck either when he tries to grab the championship. He ends up getting put on the walls of Jericho while on top of the ladder, and the crowd absolutely love this spot. And when Benoit falls to the mat, fans think it's over. However, Benoit kicks the ladder while he's still laid out on the canvas, and Jericho comes crashing down. Refusing to take a break in this matchup, the two get to their feet and Jericho delivers another shot with the ladder. He then tries to grab the belt, but he then decides to jump on his opponent. This allows Benoit to put Y2J in a crippler crossface, and even though Jericho taps out, the match is going to continue on, of course. Benoit remembers about Jericho's shoulder, but Y2J is still in no mood to sell it. Instead, Benoit gets launched into the ladder before Jericho uses the ladder to sandwich his opponent in the corner. The ladder gets set up, Jericho gets knocked away. Jerry Lawler points out the obvious when he says Benoit can't reach the belt from this position, but we all know what Benoit's thinking here. He goes for the diving headbutt, he misses his target, and Jericho decides to drop Benoit under the ladder before climbing up. This doesn't work either as Benoit is able to power out and Chris falls out of the ring. But Jericho is able to grab a chair while on the outside, and a few chair shots stuns Benoit for a moment when he goes for the belt. Benoit kicks Jericho, Jericho bounces off the ropes and into the ladder. Benoit falls out of the ring, and this allows Chris to climb up and grab the Intercontinental Championship. Jericho's our match winner, and what a match it was. It really is a treat to get an undercard match of such high quality, and you'd really feel like you got your money's worth already if you bought Royal Rumble 2001 on pay-per-view. Both men performed really well, and you do forgive the whole shoulder thing due to everything else that happened in the ring. Fantastic work. After the match, Jericho says Benoit's one of the toughest people he's ever faced in the WWF. Finally, someone has proved Benoit wrong though, and Y2J is once again the WWF Intercontinental Champion. A spike piledriver from Val Venus and Ivory ended up putting Chyna on the bench. She thought she needed surgery, but she opted for intense therapy instead. This was all a work, by the way, just in case you didn't know. Chyna surprised Ivory by showing up on Raw and accepting her challenge to a Women's Championship match, and that match took place next at the Royal Rumble. Clothesline, hairpull takedown and a top rope snapmare from Chyna. Ivory tried to escape through the audience, but Chyna was hot on her tail, and Ivory got brought back over the barrier with a military press. Back in the ring, Chyna continued to dominate, and even Steven Richards didn't prove to be much help, and then the match ended rather abruptly. Now, the WWF obviously want to prolong this injury angle, and moments into the bout they had Chyna hit the mat after a handspring back elbow. But the way this was done wasn't great, was it? I mean, yeah, any wrong movement, no matter how minor, could have serious implications for someone who needed surgery, but it was really hard to buy into this just because of the way Chyna went down. After this happened, Ivory covered Chyna, meaning the Women's Championship didn't change hands, and trust me, you didn't miss out on much up until this point. It was around 3 minutes of Chyna dominating her opponent. The pay-per-view comes to a screeching halt as EMTs get in the ring to help Chyna. Billy Gunn makes an appearance too. He hasn't done a great job defending Chyna's honour recently, has he? And we follow Chyna all the way up the ramp and into the backstage area. Chyna might have a broken freaking neck, ladies and gents. Send your prayers. Stephanie bumps into Trish in the makeup room. Stephanie says she'll have no problem going after Miss Stratus if she tries to get involved in our next match. And Trish says she has no desire to get involved in Stephanie's affairs. Trish has her own affairs to worry about. Dirty dog. The great Harvey Whippleman brings Drew Carey his wrestling attire. It's an Adidas tracksuit, and Drew thinks he's a real wrestler now, so much so that he introduces himself as a wrestler when Kane walks into the locker room. The big red machine doesn't say a single word. Lowdown were trying to work out which one of them should enter the Royal Rumble match, but Vince McMahon came along with some bad news. Neither Chaz nor D'Lo will be entering the Royal Rumble this year because their spot's been replaced by Drew Carey. Tiger Ali Singh has no idea who Drew Curry is, and to be honest, the mention of Curry has made me a little hungry. I'm going to get a takeaway for the Royal Rumble match a bit later on. Vince McMahon announced that Triple H is the #1 contender for the WWF belt after Hunter made his Raw return on January 8th. Hunter came back and he attacked Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stephanie McMahon, Kurt's former business partner, said she's 100% behind her husband for this title match, and so Kurt brought in Trish Stratus as his new business partner. As you've probably worked out, Steph and Trish don't like each other because Miss Stratus is having a sneaky relationship with Vince McMahon, the big fucking creep that he is. But all that Triple H cares about is winning the WWF Championship. He doesn't care about all the drama. The game wants the gold and he's determined to beat Angle in our WWF title match. So we have two heels going at it here, and we begin with Angle giving Triple H a wrestling lesson. The first exchange results in Triple H getting sent out of the ring, and the game takes a moment to compose himself, something we don't see too often. A loud Angle sucks chant breaks out in the arena. It looks like the fans in the Big Easy want the game to win this one, or they just dislike Kurt a little more. Hunter tries to gain the advantage with a few strikes, but he ends up taking a back body drop, and Kurt keeps the pressure on with a knuckle lock takedown and 3 consecutive suplexes. Once again, Hunter has to leave the ring and he wants to regroup, but Angle's not going to allow it this time. He goes out and he lays in a few right hands, but this kind of brawling on the outside definitely favours Triple H. Hunter uses the barriers to do some damage before the two get back in the ring. Angle's now in a bad spot as the action gets back inside the ropes, and Hunter grapevines Angle's leg while applying a ton of pressure. Hunter's found his target and he zones in with a dragon screw. Angle's in a great position to perform an enziguri, and even though he missed by a mile, Hunter still sells it. Not great. Hunter briefly turns it around with some more focused offense in the corner, but Angle manages to launch the challenger out of the ring while Stephanie looks on with a lot of concern. Angle manages to pull Hunter into the ring post as a counter move. The game then gets thrown into the ring steps. Hunter's selling his left arm now, so both men have a target as they get in the ring. Angle misses a clothesline, and so Triple H goes back to the outside to utilise the ring post to his advantage. Angle gets his knee wrapped around the ring post before Hunter looks for a chair. Stephanie has Earl Hebner distracted, and so Kurt takes a shot right on the knee. The champ is now in trouble. He limps over to the ring steps before Hunter performs a knee breaker. In the ring, the knee remains the target with Hunter performing multiple chop blocks, and Triple H's confidence begins to rise as he continues working over the knee. Hunter applies an Indian Deathlock, a move that Jim Ross went crazy for years later at Mania 19, but here he says it could have been renamed to the American Deathlock. I don't know. Angle breaks free, he ends up telegraphing a backdrop and he takes a facebreaker knee smash, so it's right back to the knee as Hunter looks to systematically break Kurt Angle down. He drops his own knee across Angle's while Kurt was tied up in the corner. The game brings it down to the mat with a figure 4 leg lock, and hilariously, Trish Stratus tries to help Kurt out while the referee has to act totally oblivious. I don't think they really thought this spot over, but it doesn't matter. Stephanie pulls Trish out, the two ladies smack each other around. They end up on top of the commentary table where Steph continues her attack, but eventually Trish gets the better of Little Miss McMahon and Daddy McMahon's forced to come down and break things up. Vince is trying to separate his daughter and his mistress, though the two continue to fight. So Vince ends up putting Trish over his shoulder and he tries to bring her back up the ramp. Stephanie stops him momentarily, the fight continues on, but eventually both women go back through the curtain, and that means Triple H and Kurt are all alone. To be honest, it's probably for the best. All this allows Angle to get a rest and he tries a sneaky roll-up, but he only gets a 2. This infuriates Triple H and he puts Kurt down with a clothesline, but Kurt uses his opponent's momentum against him and he performs a DDT. Angle goes for the belly to belly, both guys realise the positioning's off, so Kurt switches to an inverted atomic drop before delivering a German suplex. The WWF champ then looks for his moonsault, but Hunter wakes up and he stops the move. What follows is a very rare Razor's Edge from the game, Hunter giving his old click buddy a little shout out right here. A pedigree attempt fails and we see the old headbutt to the groin spot after Angle gets pushed in the corner. This gives Kurt another chance to perform his moonsault, and my god, he actually lands it. Fantastic. Kurt gets thrown out of the ring. It looks like he's jacked his knee up. The referee goes out to check on Kurt, but the game ends up wiping Hebner out, and so we have no official. Back in the ring, it's a top rope arm drag from the WWF champion. I've always liked this move. The referee's still out when Kurt makes his cover. Angle goes out to wake up the referee, but this results in poor Arg taking even more punishment. Perfect opportunity right here for Triple H to grab the WWF title and go for the kill shot. Unfortunately, Triple H misses and Angle gets a chance to repay the favour. Angle swings, he misses too, and this miss results in Triple H performing a pedigree. We still don't have a match official, so Triple H tries to wake Earl up, and that's when Stone Cold Steve Austin appears and the challenger gets attacked. Not only does Hunter get beaten up outside the ring, he also takes a belt shot in the ring. This one is over, guys, as Austin goes out to finally wake Hebner up, and just to make sure Triple H is definitely done for, Austin hits the game with a Stone Cold Stunner. Steve gets a little payback for Survivor Series 99, he gets a little payback for Triple H costing him the WWF title on Raw a few weeks ago. Kurt Angle wins via pinfall, and that means, right now, Kurt's going into WrestleMania 17 as the WWF champion. A good championship match here, though I enjoyed Hunter's match against Chris Benoit at No Mercy a whole lot more. The finish was a crowd pleaser for sure, but we've seen better matches from both Triple H and Kurt Angle. It's time for the Royal Rumble, ladies and gents. Anyone could win this year's match, including The Undertaker, Kane, Rikishi, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Steve Blackman, and this man right here, The Rock. Rock says this is the biggest Royal Rumble in history. He wonders if Kane and The Undertaker are going to work together tonight, but it doesn't really matter. Both men are getting sent over the top rope, yet the possibilities are endless. It could come down to Rock and Perry Saturn, it could come down to Rock and Steve Austin, but enough talk, great one. Let's see who gets a first class ticket to WrestleMania 17. Entrant number 1 is Jeff Hardy, the charismatic enigma. Tough break for young Jeffrey, but stranger things have happened. The Bullest of Buchanan's is entrant number 2. Absolutely no way this dude's going to WrestleMania, but we gotta fill the numbers up somehow. Conserving energy is not a priority for Jeff Hardy. He's already trying top rope moves and pulling off head scissor takedowns, but Big Bull puts him down with a clothesline. A rake to the eyes saves Jeff from getting eliminated, and the two continue to scuffle until entrant number 3 shows up. It's Jeff's brother Matt. What are the chances, eh? Neither man may be going to WrestleMania this year, but at least they get to help each other out in the Royal Rumble. Buchanan takes Poetry in Motion before getting sent out of the ring. There's no one for the Hardys to fight against, as Bull's the first man eliminated in the Royal Rumble. So the brothers go at it, which really isn't a good strategy, is it? You should have waited for entrant number 4 and worked together right up to the end. To be fair, the boys do stop fighting when it's time for the next entrant, so they aren't totally daft, though they may have their hands full with Big Farouk, one half of the APA and someone who had a good laugh earlier when looking at his partner's entrant number. Does this mean Bradshaw's coming out next? Well, it doesn't matter because Jeff botches Poetry in Motion, or maybe he didn't, I don't know. But Farouk tries to eliminate Jeff and he fails. He also fails to perform in a Dominator, and instead he takes a Twist of Fate and a Swanton Bomb. So Farouk gets eliminated and Big Ron Simmons will not be headlining WrestleMania this year. We need to wait some time before the next entrant shows up, so the Hardy Boys take their shirts off. This made me squeal like a little girl. And Matt takes a whisper in the wind just before entrant number 5 shows up, Drew Carey. We could have had D'Lo in the Royal Rumble, ladies and gents, but instead we've got this guy. Drew Carey fans completely screaming at their monitors right now, but listen very closely. I don't give a fuck. Drew gets in the ring and he seems genuinely interested in watching the Hardy Boys fight, like it's entertaining for him and he just wants to stand back and enjoy the show. The Hardys end up eliminating each other after having a scrap on the top rope, so Drew's left all alone to wait for entrant number 6. No matter who comes out, they're going to destroy this guy, and unlucky Drew, here comes the big red machine and here comes the end of your life. Actually, is Drew dead? Let me check this. No, he's still with us. Okay, good. Well, he tries to give Kane money, and I would have accepted that money. Kane is a man of principle though, so he says no as the next competitor enters the Royal Rumble. It's Raven, and Raven smacks Kane with a kendo stick before Drew got chokeslammed straight to hell. Realising he's out of his depth here, Drew decides to climb over the top rope and he eliminates himself. Instead of acting afraid or a little shook up after what just happened, he smiles and he high-fives the audience on his way back up the ramp. An absolute waste of a Royal Rumble entry right here, and I don't care how famous he is, he sucked at the 2001 Royal Rumble. Kane tries a sidewalk slam that didn't look too hot, so Raven rolls out of the ring and he uses a fire extinguisher on the big red machine. Should have used a fire extinguisher on this guy years ago. Al Snow shows up to attack Raven, and I guess Snow's entrant number 8. Either he was too early or Raven's cue of blasting the fire extinguisher was too early, but nevertheless, Al's in and the ring's now filling up with toys. Snow does not discriminate, he goes after Kane too, and Snow's looking pretty good right about now. He looks even better when he pulls out a bowling ball and Raven gets his wee Johnny Polo smashed into a million pieces. But this does raise an important question. Who puts a bowling ball underneath a wrestling ring? Al Snow, that's who. Al and Raven join forces to keep the big red machine at bay, and they work together for a double drop toe hold onto a trash can. Someone better clean that ring up because entrant number 9's about to show up, and actually nah, leave the mess if you want. It's Perry Saturn representing the Radicals, and Terry's here too, meaning we've got 4 superstars coming down to the ring at this very moment. Saturn's going to try a different approach. He's going to try and chop Kane down by going after his left leg. This works out pretty well initially, but Kane isn't going to give up, and he spends the next few minutes fighting off all 3 guys in the ring. Raven's able to lock in a sleeper. It's a joint effort here to bring Kane down to the mat, but guys, I think you really should be working together to throw him over the top rope. Bad guys beware, villains of the world watch out, because Steve motherfucking Blackman has entered the Royal Rumble and he's on a mission to headline WrestleMania and bring world peace to planet Earth. There's no time to waste as Steve grabs his Eskrima sticks and he goes to work on Raven, Al Snow and Perry Saturn. He mustn't think Kane's a threat, and maybe he thinks he can tame the big red machine like he's a wild horse or something, but no such luck. Instead of everyone grouping together and working together to take out Kane, they end up fighting with each other, and this gives Kane a chance to get it together and continue his rampage. Here comes Grandmaster Sexay Brian Christopher, another hot favourite to win the Royal Rumble. There'll be no dancing in the ring this year, seeing as Rikishi turned heel, and we know the Big Goose is number 30 at this year's Royal Rumble. So Christopher has something to prove, and he tries to prove whatever that something is by attacking Steve Blackman with nunchucks. Even Kane couldn't believe the disrespect being shown here, so the Grandmaster takes a trash can shot and the Grandmaster's been eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Thank you very, very much for coming. Steve asks Kane to eliminate him so he can beat the shit out of Grandmaster Sexay in the dressing room, and Kane happily obliges. So Blackman sacrifices a WrestleMania main event opportunity to get some revenge on a man who wronged him. Proper sensei shit, ladies and gents. Al Snow, Raven and Perry Saturn want to see the big backstage fight, so they too get sent over the top rope. And it's now time to see who drew number 11. It's the Honky Tonk Man. The Honky Tonk Man returns to the WWF to compete in the Royal Rumble, only one small problem. Kane's standing in the ring and he absolutely hates old time rock and roll. He's more of a techno head. Honky Tonk grabs a microphone, he thinks people want to hear him sing, and Mr. Man is not one to let his fans down. So Honky Tonk's entrance music plays again and we get a sing-along with only one man. Kane summons his inner Jeff Jarrett when he takes away Honky Tonk's guitar. The guitar gets smashed, and see you later Honky Tonk Man. Please don't come back. Know your role, jabroni. The Rock is entrant number 13, and maybe Kane's dominance over this match is going to slow down a little. The Rock delivers a jumping clothesline and he looks to eliminate Kane quite early on, but Kane fights back and the Great One finds himself in trouble. No eliminations here, but we've got two big players in the ring. Here comes the Goodfather to get a piece of the big boys. He's also looking to do better than his RTC buddy Bill Buchanan earlier on, but no such luck. A punch to the mouth sends Goodfather out of the ring, and Goodfather fans all around the world cried in unison. Maybe he should go back to being a pimp. Rock and Kane continue working against each other until number 15 makes his entrance. It's Taz, the human suplex machine, and he gets eliminated quicker than you can say, but I digress. Kane punched Taz out of the ring, so clearly no one's having any luck tonight against Kane nor The Rock. A Samoan drop from The Rock leads to both competitors staying on the mat just before the next entrant comes to the ring. It's Bradshaw. So tell me, why were Bradshaw and Farouk laughing earlier on when they saw each other's Royal Rumble numbers? There's nothing remotely amusing about being number 4 and number 16 respectively. If it were me, I would have said, well, neither of us are winning the Rumble this year, let's just drink and play cards backstage. Can the big Texan do better than those who just came before him? Well, yeah, he lets Rock hit Kane with a clothesline before Rocky takes a clothesline from hell. But then old JBL takes a spinebuster and Rock takes another clothesline from Kane. At least Bradshaw didn't get immediately eliminated. Next we've got Big Albert, who recently broke up the TNA tag team. He may be a mid-carder, but he's a big boy, and we need some big boys to get Kane over the top rope. Instead of teaming up together, Bradshaw and Albert end up fighting each other, and Bradshaw even gets some help from Kane. This doesn't last long, but the fact that neither man really goes after Kane or Rock means both are safe, for now. Number 18 is hardcore, applecore, encore, dance floor, bombastic, sparky, bastard, bubble, Bobby, I'm not your buddy Holly. The happiest, most joyful ray of sunshine we've got in the Royal Rumble this year. And the only thing of note he does here is teaming up with Bradshaw to try and eliminate The Rock. Of course, both guys are unsuccessful in their mission. Albert delivers a pump kick to Kane and the crowd goes nuts when they think Rock's going to eliminate the Big Red Machine, but Kane survives once again as entrant number 19 comes running down the ramp. WWF newcomer K-Quick, who is now without his tag team partner Road Dogg. Road Dogg's been released from the WWF due to, quote, personal problems, and unfortunately K-Quick doesn't get a chance to show off here either. Instead he takes a powerbomb just as Kane hits Holly with a power slam. We've got 6 men in the ring and it's about to become 7 as Val Venus enters the 2001 Royal Rumble. We're now 2/3 into the Rumble match and still Kane and The Rock are the favourites to win. Can Venus do better than Buchanan and the Goodfather? Well, he gets drilled immediately with a spinebuster from Kane, so I'm going to say no. Again, not a lot happens, though Bradshaw does hit K-Quick with a spear. That was a bit weird. At number 21, we've got His Lordship William Regal. He's been getting quite the push in the WWF as of late, and he's getting himself involved in main event storylines, so good for you, Regal. Keep it up. He goes right after K-Quick and he just blends into everything else going on in the ring right now, so again, nothing to report. Number 22, this is a test. Big babyface Andy's probably going to go straight after Albert, even though there's more than enough men in the ring right now to eliminate Kane, but before he goes after his former tag team partner, Test eliminates Regal. I am not happy about this at all. The physicality between Albert and Test is quite minimal actually, as Test would rather go after the Big Red Machine, but fans are in for a big surprise when entrant number 23 makes his way down to the ring. It's the big show. It's a big bad show tonight. Show's making his WWF return after spending some time in OVW. The company wanted him to drop some weight and tighten up his ring work. And the big man gets busy by eliminating Test, eliminating K-Quick, and delivering chokeslams to Albert, Bradshaw, Venus, and the bubbly hardcore Holly. Show then points at Kane, and yeah, the Big Red Machine takes a chokeslam too, but Big Show's unable to chokeslam The Rock. Rocky hits a low blow and the Big Show gets eliminated by the Great One, and Show's so angry that he pulls Rock out of the ring just as number 24 enters the match. It's young Crash Holly. Holly said earlier that he will throw the APA out of the ring if he has to, and as soon as he gets in, he goes after Bradshaw. Good man. Back to the outside and Rock gets chokeslammed through the announce table. Show leaves the ringside area after performing the move, and now we aren't sure if Rock's going to continue in our Royal Rumble match. The other competitors, meanwhile, have finally gotten together to try and eliminate Kane, so it's the perfect time for Kane's older brother to show up in the Royal Rumble. The Undertaker's here, he comes down to the ring in his little bicycle, and now we'll see if Taker and Kane are actually going to work together. Feels like we've been through this storyline before, but anyway, yep. The Brothers of Destruction seem to be on good terms. They both work together to eliminate every single person in the ring, but do keep in mind The Rock has still not been eliminated. Kane and Taker square up, and there's no one left to fight, so I guess they're going to fight each other. But hold up, here comes another victim at number 26, Scotty Too Hotty, and I'd reckon he isn't feeling too hotty right about now. He has a few choices here. He could walk back up the ramp and get himself fired, he could get in the ring and immediately jump out again, or he could try and fight. The silly bastard tries to fight. He gets planted with a double choke slam. Out of the ring you go, Scotty, and this time Taker and Kane are going to wait for the next entrant. The Rock's starting to move a bit on the outside, but fans aren't too concerned right now because here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin. The big guns are now officially in the Royal Rumble and it's going to be a war. That's what I would have said if someone didn't attack Austin from behind, and you guessed it, it's Triple H. Turnabout's fair play, I guess. Triple H and Austin are going to fight all the way up the rampway while Rock gets back in the ring to take on Undertaker and Kane. Austin is yet to officially enter the Rumble match, but we'll move on to our next entrant, Billy Gunn, a man determined to win the Rumble after sucking pretty hard during every singles push he's been given. Billy shows great fire when he gets in the ring, but someone who's not having a great time is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Officials have finally broken the fight up, but Austin's been bloodied up pretty badly and his chances of winning the Royal Rumble have went down drastically. Those chances dip way down into minus figures when number 29 enters the Royal Rumble match, and oh my god guys, the manliest man who ever manned a man is in the Royal Rumble. Ming has jumped from WCW and he's now part of the WWF, reverting back to his Haku name and saying fuck you to non-compete clauses around the world. The reigning WCW Hardcore Champion gets in the ring and he goes straight after Undertaker and Kane. No mercy for the weak. The Brothers of Destruction have to use all their strength to slow Haku down, but good luck boys, you have absolutely no idea who you're messing with. Steve Austin began bleeding more heavily as soon as Haku showed up. It just began gushing uncontrollably, and it's now time for entrant number 30 to enter the Royal Rumble. It's Rikishi, who won the right to be the 30th entrant after a fatal 4-way on SmackDown. Can the Big Goose make it to the WrestleMania main event? Let's find out. Before Rikishi makes it to the ring, Steve Austin wakes up. Austin must eliminate Haku before he dies of blood loss, so Rikishi gets attacked, and once Big Kish has been taken care of, Austin gets in the ring and he eliminates the artist formerly known as Ming. It was a matter of life or death guys, seriously. We continue on with Rikishi taking a chokeslam from The Undertaker. Taker should have stayed on Rikishi because after having a brief scrap with The Rock, the Big Goose gets up and he eliminates the Phenom with a standing sidekick. A big elimination right here that fills Rikishi with confidence, so he goes for the Banzai drop on The Rock. Rocky wakes up, he delivers a low blow, and a shot to the back, a back shot if you will, eliminates the big man. We're down to the final four, and the one Billy Gunn looks good after a famouser to Steve Austin. This doesn't seem to affect Stone Cold all that much because seconds later Austin eliminates Billy, and so we're down to 3. A DDT to Kane from The Rock results in the 3 men taking a break on the mat. But then, Rock and Austin lock eyes and the atmosphere here is absolutely fantastic. The two stand up and here we go, it's a fist fight between Stone Cold and The Rock. And it's a fist fight that Rock wins. Rock lines up a rock bottom while Austin's on the mat. He can't perform the move and instead he ends up taking a Stone Cold Stunner. Austin wants to punish Rock a little more, but he gets interrupted by Kane. So Stone Cold focuses on the Big Red Machine with a Luthez press and a few mounted punches. Seconds later, Austin walks into a rock bottom, the rattlesnake's down and Kane's going to go after Rock now. Kane gets thrown out of the ring, but he goes through the top and middle ropes, so the Big Red Machine's still in it. Rock and Austin go back to beating each other up. They both fail to eliminate each other. Rock gives it another go, but Kane comes over and Rock ends up getting eliminated. Somehow Austin survived and Kane thought he had it won. So while fans come to terms with Rock getting eliminated, Stone Cold takes a chokeslam. Kane says the end is here. He signals for the tombstone. Austin avoids it by hitting a low blow, and so Kane goes outside to grab a chair. The chair doesn't get used. Instead, Austin avoids any serious damage, and he also avoids a tombstone piledriver. And our Royal Rumble ends with Kane taking a Stone Cold Stunner, multiple chair shots to the head, and a clothesline that sends him out of the ring. Steve Austin's a 3-time Royal Rumble winner. It's going to be Stone Cold in the main event of WrestleMania 17. And the show ends with a good old-fashioned beer bash as the pay-per-view fades to black. What an excellent show from the WWF. Dudley's vs Edge and Christian picked up as it went along. Benoit vs Jericho was fantastic. The WWF title match wasn't my favourite, but it was still an entertaining bout. And the Royal Rumble itself does deserve all the praise it gets. A very exciting Rumble match that you appreciate more when watching the TV shows that led up to the pay-per-view. This one was pretty unpredictable back in the day, and the WWF had a cast of strong players who could have easily main evented WrestleMania. This one comes highly recommended, and the whole Rumble match is available on YouTube via the WWE Vault. It's always worth visiting again. We're on the right track now, folks, and we're not stopping until the WrestleMania main event. Join me on Thursday for the Royal Rumble Fallout. Thank you very much for watching, and please take care.